Hi there. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, you know I don't have an accent. Anyways, today, I thought I would talk about something I found last night, kind of by accident. It's called the Cozy Crime Coloring Book. So, like, you'll see all these cute little animals doing, like, these heinous little crimes. And I was just like, oh, okay. And as I was looking through videos of this, there were two images that really stuck out to me. The first one being a school shooting of children, which nobody wants to really see that. And the other one that also included children was a picture of a piggy who was exposing himself in front of a schoolyard. And I've seen in the comments, because I was like, tell me this is like crazy, right? Like people aren't, and it seemed to be split down the middle. Some people were like, wow, this is horrific. And other people were like, it's fiction. It doesn't, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a coloring book. You guys are so sensitive, and typically when it comes to media and stuff, like, yeah, I would tend to agree, but the reason why I feel like this one is different is because when we're watching a movie or something, like let's just say something like a school shooting, God forbid, happens in a movie. There's usually somebody who either wants to seek revenge, it's somebody's autobiography, like where there's a full story to it that needed that piece. Now, if you saw a school shooting in a comedy movie, that's not really, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's really no joke that would kind of justify something like that, And at the end of the day, it's like the Melanie Martinez thing. If you can color in that book and you can, like, I don't want to say live with it, it's a coloring book, but, like, if you're comfortable with that, then by all means, nobody's stopping you. But, like, I just feel like it's not something you should, like, publicly admit, honestly. Because it's just, I don't know. Like, when we're, like, in that coloring book, there's no connections to those characters at all. Like, if it was, like, a single story where it's like, okay, I'm putting my lipstick on first today. If it was like a story where we follow a particular bunny rabbit and it's just like, kind of spread awareness of these things, then I feel like that would be a little different. But since they're just kind of one-off little pictures and stuff, I just feel like the whole thing is a little in poor taste overall. Again, kind of like the whole Melanie Martinez thing. Like, we get what she's trying to say, and the music explained those premises. But people who just looked at the merchandise were kind of like, and I'm not really going to get into the whole Melanie Martinez thing. That's like a whole different video, in my opinion. I don't really enjoy talking about individual people, like just kind of topics and stuff. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. If you think that it's totally okay to be in a coloring book because it's not real, or it was just in bad taste, if you have no real opinion on it at all, because how I see it is, like, when people were like, oh, you're so sensitive and things like that, you have to think of, like, people where it's like, yes, it's not a real photo of what's happening, but somebody who's experienced something like, God forbid, a school shooting, they're going to see that image, and then it's going to start connecting the thoughts they had to that day in their mind, and then it could kind of cause potentially an episode of PTSD, depending on how the person is dealing with that trauma, so I think that's where it's, and I'll use myself as an example. Nobody needs to censor anything from me. But when I see something that I feel like is going to remind me of a traumatic event that I've had, then I just quickly turn it off, flip the page, walk the other way, because I don't want my mind to go down that rabbit hole. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's also an option too. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. To me, I just feel like it's kind of in poor taste, you know. But you know, and the people are like, what about South Park and things like that? You know, honestly, I just think South Park. I mean, I watch South Park, so I'm not saying this in a bad way. I just think South Park is so, you know, horrible that people are just not shocked anymore. Like, anything they do, people are just like, yeah, that sounds about right. You know, like, there's really, they've just touched every single topic that they possibly could. You know, so they're reaching out to us very, like, you know, it's one of those things. Like, there's been episodes of South Park that have caused, like, national uproar and had to be banned and everything like that. You know, so I guess it just really depends. It just depends on who's consuming the media. I think why this artist got hit so hard is because I don't think, at least from my research, I don't think that she was as, you know, well known. So, like, when people see something like that, they're like, whoa, this is morbid. This is, you know, because, you know, when people get uncomfortable, they tend to get angry too. It depends on the situation again. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. I would personally never color that page. If it was in my coloring book, I would just keep flipping, you know, because it's not something I want to look at. I work with children, and the last thing I would want is to, you know, even have that thought in my head, kind of like how I have right now, you know, but, like, you know, like, when I'm trying to color and de-stress, like, it's just not something I want to, you know. And I guess it could be argued, oh, this earring's not going in. But anyways, I guess it could be argued that the whole coloring book is kind of messed up. But I just think people drew the line because they were children. Ow. Ugh. Whoops. Anyways, I just think people drew the line because they're children. That really hurt. So I that's probably the only reason why nobody's commenting on the other pages, because, you know, these are, like, they're all crime scenes, yes, but, you know, I just think things including children happen a lot more often, sadly, so that's why it's a little more traumatic to see it out in the wild like that, you know. Like, it's kind of, I hate to even, like, bring this up, you know, but this is kind of where my mind went a little bit. It's kind of like when people make fun of grape, you know, and they kind of, you know, I don't even use the actual word because it's just, I don't like that word. But, like, you know, it's like when people joke about that. Like, in the early 2000s, that's constantly what you would hear is people like, I'm gonna blank you, I'm gonna, you know, and, you know, I don't think those kids really knew the weight of what they were saying. But, you know, it still doesn't really make it right. And hopefully once they've learned what they're actually saying, what it means, hopefully they're like, okay, that's not something to joke about, you know. So that could also be another angle. Maybe because she's like a grown adult doing this, people are like, there's no room for excuse, you know. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. I just wanted to talk about it. Sorry that my thoughts are all discombobulated. I don't really write a script because then I would sound like a robot reading it. Personally me, because I have ADHD and then I can't focus and I add like other things into it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and puff puff out. Subscribe.